Alright guys, we're not done yet. So we also have here is a 1992 Chevy C1500. This is before they were called Silverados. It's a two-wheel peeler. It's 5.7 liter V8 engine. It's got a 700R4 or 4L60E. I can't remember what year that they actually changed them. They were the same thing basically. What we're doing here is we got the transmission flush machine. We got a case of transmission fluid. We're going to be doing a transmission fluid flush on this truck. So I know some guys are real picky on transmission fluid flushes, whether to do them or not to do them. You know, you've heard it where if transmission fluid is nice and nasty and dark, just leave it alone, and some people change them out anyways. My opinion, my thought, as long as the transmission fluid is clean and you keep it clean, it's okay to flush it. There's a point in time where transmission fluid, you know, turns a certain color, and or starts turning like a dark brown, black color. It's best just to leave it the way it is, because you can actually make things worse. So this one's nice and clean. We're just gonna run through. We're gonna pump like 12 quarts through it. We're gonna do a flush on it, and I'll show you what's all involved in. We're using the RTI transmission flush machine. I've had this machine probably 7 or 8 years now. It's been a great machine for me. And I'll show you how to hook it up and what's all involved, and let's go. This is what my transmission flush machine looks like. It's a very simple machine. So you have a couple of sight gauges here. Obviously there's new and old fluid, so you can actually see the new fluid going in and the new fluid coming out. You can actually see the fluid start to change colors as it's going through here. This particular one, the Chevy stuff, we're going to be using something like this right here. This is, I think this is what we're going to be using. So let's get you guys hooked up. Alright, so what we're going to do, just going to put a couple of rags here on the bottom just to catch any transmission fluid. So remember this, guys. Remember when we actually had to use all standard? So we're using standard stuff here. So I had to had to blow the dust off these things. So this is a 1/2 inch. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna loosen this up here. Should be the same one as my adapter. Very little transmission. So what we're gonna do here is, again, now this adapter here, so this is gonna screw in place inside here, and then this female side, it's gonna hook onto the metal line. So this is gonna go in just like that. 11/16. Just gonna tighten this up, not very much, and then we're gonna take the other side. Then we're going to thread this side on it. It's going to tighten this one down a little bit. This one is a 3/4. That's it. That's all it takes. So now we'll get our transmission lines, the pressure return line. So see here, one's red, one's black. Obviously the red is for fresh, the black is for the stuff that comes out. And you have your quick disconnects, you know, just like a regular air hose. One there. Hook up this one. So there you go. It's hooked up. Before we start the truck, this thing does have power. You have to hook this up to the vehicle battery. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Once it comes online, it'll beep. So you have this is like a little symbol of a transmission. So we're gonna start the truck, and when the truck starts, the fluid will start going through, because this is just basically the transmission pump is actually pumping fluid through this. We're not flushing anything yet. We just want to make sure that we're gonna get a good ready light. So if we start it and the light doesn't turn on, then we know that our pressure return lines are hooked backwards, and we have to switch them around. So let's start it. Make sure we get a green light. So now we got a good ray light, and we got a little bit of fluctuation, about 10. See, that's just the air being worked out. So once the air came out of it, and we got about 40 psi. So it's gonna take a while for it to kind of get all the air out of the lines. So we're gonna let it run for a good probably 5 minutes or so. So we got a good ray light, and we have good transmission fluid pressure. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill up the transmission reservoir with fresh dex-merc 3 transmission fluid. So we'll take our first quart here, and we're gonna dump this in. I'm gonna show you guys make a Mexican funnel here, just in case if you don't have one or one's not in reach. Guess what? We have 12 funnels. So we'll just dump all 12 of them in there. Alright, so here's our setup transmission flush machine. We got the lines hooked into the radiator onto the transmission cooling lines that we'll plug in right there. I got the green light going. So we got the fluid moving through, and then we're gonna hit the 12 quarts. So there we go. Lights on, green light's going. You'll see this start to change. See how this is nice pretty red color, pink color. This one's got a little bit of color to it. Probably looks worse on video than what it really is, but it's actually pretty clean fluid. So right now we're running at about, I don't know, 25 psi or so. So the good thing about this transmission flush machine is that this machine uses transmission pump pressure to pump the fluid. This one does not have a pumping machine inside here, which I really like, because the transmission, this won't hurt the transmission by over pressurizing or anything like that. This will only work as long as the transmission pump is actually working. So we're sitting there, and we got our gauge here on the side, so you can see it. So we're down to about 9 quarts, so it actually goes pretty quickly. And then on the other side, I don't know if you can see it here, it's about 3 or 4 quarts, and this side holds all the old fluid. So we're gonna let it do its thing. Also, another good thing about this transmission fluid is once it's gone through all the 12 quarts, it'll automatically shut off and go through a bypass mode. And that way the transmission fluid is just flowing through it, not flushing it anymore. It's just flowing through it. You can see here now the fluid is a lot cleaner now than before. So we're almost there. We got about another 3 or 4 more quarts to go through. And also too, when you go to check the transmission fluid and it's higher, or if it's too low, you can actually add half a quart or minus half a quart. Not all the time when you go to do a flush it'll be at the perfect level. Sometimes it'll be high, sometimes it'll be low. But anyways, here before you unhook anything, you can actually, take or add oil, transmission oil, as needed. So as you can see there, they're almost the same color. It looks really good. So that beeping noise tells us that the flush is complete. So we'll go over here. Inside the truck. You can shut it off here for a second. And we can do here, we'll just hit stop. So we get to go. So now what we'll do is we'll restart the truck back up and then check our transmission level and then go from there before we disconnect anything else. So ultimately, when the transmission is nice and hot, you have a cold mark and you have a hot mark. You want this thing to be right somewhere in the hot mark. The transmission is hot, and you should do a transmission flush while the transmission is hot. So hopefully we'll come up to somewhere right in between here. Man, that's almost right on the money. Literally halfway. Man, that's almost good. Yeah, that's right there. That has never happened to me. See if I can do this in real time. So we'll just disconnect our lines. Again, our quick disconnects. We'll get the other one. Same thing. Quick disconnect. Hopefully you guys can see that. So we'll just take just those little fittings off before. There's one fitting again. So I go with the other one, 11/16. Took that one off. Now we'll just line up the metal tube, transmission cooler tube, back to the radiator. Tighten this one up. All right. Alright, so just tighten down, doesn't take much. Just a tube nut. Disconnect our transmission machine electrically from the battery. So now the next step is we just go take it for a drive, make sure it shifts through all the gears. I don't see any issue, and then we'll bring it back in. Once again, just check the fluid level. Sometimes it will drop after you guys drive it. So let's go take it for a drive real quick. Alright, so I got everything off. Let's go take this thing for a drive. Gotta love these old Chevy trucks, man. It's got 145,000 miles on this thing. For a 92, it's not bad at all. Alright, so we're going to take it for a drive now. We're going to make sure the RPMs shift 4 times. So that's first gear, second gear. We got third gear. And we got fourth gear. And then there's your lockup on your converter. It's almost like a second gear and fourth gear. So everything shifts smooth, shifts good. Let's go back to the shop. So there you go, guys. That's how you do a transmission flush on a 92 Chevy C1500 little 2-wheel drive with the 5.7 in this thing. Just your typical standard transmission flush. Hook up the machine. You know, we pump 12 quarts through it, flush it all out. The good thing about that machine that it'll flush the, whatever's in the pan, valve body, torque converter, in the transmission cooler. So it flushes everything out. So I've seen some other guys, hook up, some transmission lines, and they drain it into a bucket. They start the car, and that's all fine. That's how they do it. By all means, that's the way you do it. But that's how I do it here at the shop. I use a transmission flush machine. Not saying that what they do is right or wrong, but that's just how I do it. So again, guys, click the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, click the notification bell. That way you guys get notified every time I push a video out. Remember, guys, if you keep breaking them, I'll keep fixing them. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.